Sorry, I just realized you can't hear me because I didn't have my speaker on. Hello.
Hello.
Where's your office, John?
My office is the old screened porch of the apartment that was above what was originally Levy's Dry Goods, built in 1911. And the old screened porch, it never was anything else. So I'm the third owner of the building. Mrs. Levy supposedly lived here until the paint pot bought the building in the 50s, and then they kept it till around 1980, and that's when Natural Way took it. And
yeah.
there was a man that was living in here for like $400 a month when I bought this. Had this apartment up here, which had to be one of the coolest apartments in Webster. And he was paying $400 a month because the son of the paint pot owners didn't want to spend the money to fix it up. So he just said, hey, you don't need anything from me. I'll let you have it for that cheap. And anyway, this was the old screen porch that sits out, looking out. My windows in front of me look out over Highway 44.
Right.
Parking lot and the train tracks. And that stained glass window you're seeing there is the window that was probably in the original bathroom to the apartment. And I tried to keep anything that was original when we redid the building.
Cool. You know, there used to be a restaurant up there in one of those spots. It was, all I remember is, I don't remember the name of it, but I remember that it was fabulous.
David's.
I think you're talking about
David's.
That was where David's, the funny thing is that's where David's guitar loft now has his guitar practice rooms. So
David.
the space above the annex, David Guitars has his practice rooms where he's got like 10 rooms where kids play guitar and learn to play instruments, and they have guys who go up there and teach people and give lessons. And then he's got his guitar shop on the main floor where he does sell business. So
we know the guitar shop fairly well.
He does a lot. His lessons part of his business is a big part of his business. It's pretty busy.
Well, my husband is a jazz guitarist, so we do know that shop.
Oh wow. Yeah. And of course we have music folk also. So we have several music well-known music businesses here in Webster, or in Old Orchard at least.
Yep. Cool. Well, we're in love with the honey pecan croissants at the annex.
They've been a hit. Our croissants.
Ooh, they good. If anybody who's on here, if you haven't tried those yet, man, you can get addicted in a big hurry.
Yeah.
Sounds addictive.
Oh, they're fabulous. No calories.
Oh,
right.
well then.
Just wave them off.
Yeah, it's been a good thing for us, the bakery, and it's a growing portion of what we're doing. There's a lot of potential there that we haven't even tapped into yet, and it's going to take time, but we have a lot that we expect to continue to do there and grow there.
Right.
In baked goods, start to see more pies and cookies, or more breads and things. So it's been fun. and I get to R&D all that stuff. So
That's fun.
That's fun. Is there a job that we can apply for?
Yeah.
around my wife and kids have been the benefactors of that too. They like, I'm bringing stuff home all the time. Like, all right, you guys got to tell me what you think. And my kids will just be like, it's amazing, Dad. I'm like, no. You can't tell me it's amazing. Your job is to tell me what's wrong with it. Like, I'm not going to keep bringing it home. You got to tell me what's wrong. How could it be better? And then that's what you do over and over until ideally it's better, you know. And that doesn't always mean that it's going to come out that way. That's the tough thing about this. You can set a recipe.
Yeah. You just never know.
Right. In the moment, will it get produced? In the moment, under stress and conditions of a busy place, will it come out that way? The best places, Olive and Oak, you know, have mastered that ability to repeatedly put out a high-end, top-notch product, you know. I admire and watch people like that. Like, how do you do that? You know, so it's a constant challenge. It's been pretty fun.
Yeah, it's like everyday cooking. You just don't know sometimes. I'm a pie baker and I'm amazed at the difference. And a lot of it depends on the apples too, you know, and I just, who knows?
Yeah.
We eat it anyhow. Do we have everybody here? I think so.
Lisa's the only one we're missing. Tim sent me an email this morning that he's not going to be able to make it.
Okay.
And sorry, this is Kara. I will just be joining by phone today.
Hi, Kara.
Hello.
Well, we have an agenda. I don't know who's going to lead us through, but I'll start by saying can we have a report from those of you who were at the BDC meeting about what was presented and what reaction you had?
So Fran, I think that's you and me. Kara, were you at the last? I don't think you were at the last BDC meeting.
No, I was
No,
not
she
at the
wasn't.
last one.
Yeah. So I'll go first, and then Fran, you can fill in as well, if that's all right. We went over the document that you have that came out today. That's sort of my summary of what I thought our first set of recommendations were. And the BDC seemed to like the sound of those, didn't take any action on them. I think they want the full set of what we might recommend before they actually take any official action. I would say it's generally receptive to what we have to say and happy that we're working on this, but no like specific reaction. And I guess, Rebecca, you were there as well, so I apologize for omitting that.
It's quite all right. I think you summarized it beautifully.
Thank you. But so I think, you know, from the BDC's perspective, we did tell them that there was this second piece that we wanted to work on, which is that coordination across and in between business districts. And so I think if we can put together something on that topic as well, the BDC would review, and my guess is, you know, run with whatever it is that we're asking of them.
I think that's going to be the harder thing to think through. To improve the online directory is something that is a relatively, I think, easy recommendation from us to do that and to reimagine our social media activity. But the heart of this about how to pull those districts together, I don't know where that goes and what you might think we need to do. Is it a structural, organizational change idea? Is it money? How do we do this? Alan?
Well, I think part of it is like I said, even within our own districts, we got to, you know who's in our district to begin with. I mean, other than knowing that there's a Crossroads district group. I don't know that any of that information is ever filtered to the rest of the businesses in our neighborhood. And as you know, we don't have a Facebook page. There's not really anything being shared, things like that. And then once we get, I guess, each business district feels comfortable themselves, then I feel like then we can collectively move to create that pyramid of like a single unity of everybody within Webster. So we've got these different pillars that we have to start with. And then from that, you know, we continue just to then collectively absorb the group, I guess. That's my thought.
I like your analogy of pillars, because what we're looking to do is put the roof
Right,
over the pillars.
right.
So how do we
So-
do that?
I think we have to make sure that we have strong pillars first. And I don't know if collectively, I mean, we might have 3 or 4 that are, but are all of them represented, I guess. I guess have a question, like where Maypop is and that whole area, it doesn't have a business district associated with it, right?
Right.
Are you ever
Right.
seeing that you're going to consider creating business districts for these non-named business districts so we can snowball kind of that effort of unifying them, I guess?
Well, that's an interesting idea, don't you think?
Well, even like the general grant, or I guess what's the
Yorkshire.
Yorkshire. So I mean, like Yorkshire, I mean, it's obviously got an easy name that could be, other than I can never remember it. It's obviously, you know, something that could be called the Yorkshire Business District or whatever, but there's businesses there. I almost think we need to build upon our region.
You
So
know,
that-
oh, go ahead.
No, please do.
There's a new hire for the city that's charged with community outreach soon, right?
Okay.
And what if that person, whoever that is, one of their first tasks could be a new Facebook page for all the businesses in Webster Groves, and being not the only pillar, but one of the pillars, the center of the tent, if you will. If it's a big tent we're putting up, that person could be jugular. And, you know, everyone's busy. Everyone's got businesses to run and organizations to run and other agendas. This could be an exciting new project for that person.
For sure. I mean, it would also let them kind of understand like where the holes are, where, you know, the unity's already within those districts and things like that.
I have a question. For our basic understanding, I know a lot of the folks, as we get into things, they lack a foundational knowledge on how the districts are formed. Would that help? For what you're talking about, Alan, for example, the business property owners actually vote whether or not they want to be in a business district, because then they get taxed. So that is one of the roadblocks, I guess you could say. You know, why would Yorkshire Plaza, which is a single property owner, vote to make themselves a district and tax themselves when they're the only ones there? How does it benefit them? A lot of folks that are in the various commissions and just business owners in general are just don't, you know, that's just not knowledge that they're familiar with. They don't know what the roadblocks are. Would something like that help with just the commissions or the groups or this group? Because if you're talking about making additional districts, that would be something that people would need to know about. Just a thought.
Yeah, I guess I'm just saying, how are we giving these folks, these other businesses, a destination other than, oh, I'm over here on, you know, Selma. I mean, there's businesses over on Selma. And I mean, I was talking to somebody who lived in Webster for over 10 years, had no clue there was a business even over in that area. So, I mean, it's just, that's, I guess, doesn't necessarily have to be a business district, but I'm just saying, how do we give these areas, or how do we create destinations for these clusters, if you will,
Yeah.
of different types of businesses? How about that? And thank you for kind of sharing that, Fran, because that helped me understand that.
So Alan, you're thinking, and I may just be restating just so I understand, you're thinking of ways to create sort of an identity for these destinations that doesn't have to come with the infrastructure of a commission necessarily, but it would be a lot about how we talk about where these businesses are, and the businesses could use that as a frame of reference as well. Is that a fair characterization?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, just like, you know, it's very obvious if I say, hey, my business is in Owen Ridge, I think in general, everybody knows where that's at. But if I said, oh, I'm
no.
over on Selma.
Oh, no
Okay, so
way.
So as an example, if I said, hey, my business is over here on Selma, I don't know that people realize that, you know, it's south of, you know, Big
Big Bend.
Bend, as an example, or, you know.
Right.
It's another example, the Maypop area being called Zeta Del.
Zeta Del.
Picked up on that.
What?
My wife
Oh,
picked
yeah.
up on that as its name a while ago, and she always calls it because it's kind of got a catchy, cute name. And she's like, oh, you know, over in Zeta Del. I think she
What?
thinks she's kind of smarter than others too when she throws it out. And so we use that term all the time. Although it's not an official zone that's taxed, because I think you're right, Fran, and what you're saying, a lot of property owners, to get people to want to tax their business when they receive no benefit, probably it'd be hard. But BDC could, I don't know if it becomes kind of cheesy marketing, but Zeta Del could use that name a little bit more, and people would probably identify that zone a little bit better. Did you guys know that was called Zeta Del?
What's
I did.
what's it?
It's
What's
from the
it?
Zeta Del subdivision that was established there years ago. You can look it up.
ZADA DELL?
ZETA.
Zeta ZETA Del.
Yeah. That area was basically a dell, geologically,
Ah.
environmentally.
That's where I believe that the streetcar bridge crossed over the valley there, right over into Maplewood. Am I
Mhm.
correct?
Yeah.
Zeta Del. Oh, that's kind of cool.
And down on the other end of Marshall was where the town of Fairview was. And that area was sometimes referred to that where Ryan Witt is and stuff.
Fairview.
Yeah, that was the town of. It was actually referred to itself as a town.
Oh wow.
God, I think of us as this big giant jigsaw puzzle. You know, that's
Or
really
a
what
mosaic.
it's, yeah, a mosaic. And I guess I use a jigsaw puzzle because I'm always thinking about putting pieces together and
Oh, that's a good thought.
where they lie. And whoa.
You know, one thing we did once upon a time at our chamber lunches is we had a fishbowl where people would put their business cards in during the lunch, and then they'd pull one out, and then they'd do a one-on-one with another chamber member so that they would go out for coffee and do something. And the whole idea is to meet somebody new that you hadn't talked to. Maybe there's a way to take that kind of concept to all the diverse areas where we have businesses and encourage that kind of one-on-one just between districts, if there's some way to make that fun.
I'd love to have lunch with all of you if I had like 10 more hours in each day.
Well,
like
you don't want to do all of you, but I'll take you up on that, John.
I'm
I'm up for lunch with anyone who's fully vaccinated.
I'm vaccinated. I'm good
All
to go.
right, good, good.
Good
So
to
am
go.
I.
So in our past meetings, a couple of other things have come up. For example, the two that come to mind for me are, we talked about in the past, the BDC had somehow sent emissaries to new businesses or had a welcome packet or something. And maybe we talked about maybe making that a little more integral to introducing people to the business districts, the trade associations. And so I just don't want us to lose sight of that as we're talking. And the second thing is that there was conversation about having the BDC have some sort of business forum so that, whatever the agenda looks like, maybe other people beyond this group have ideas of things.
Well, I do like the idea that, a new business gets their license, they're opening, to get everything ready and they're opening, that somehow it's public knowledge versus just they're having to do the marketing effort to say, hey, now we're open. I don't know. Even just so that other businesses can say, hey, you need a printing service, hey, we're in town, or whatever it might be. Those sorts of things. Because I have no clue, like, until I drive by something and I'm like, oh, something's just open. So that's more community. It's not even just business to business. It's just within the community.
I've often thought that we don't do a good job with that at all, that it is perhaps something that we could put in our monthly community connection. Just a little column that says, welcome new businesses. We could do something on our website that says, welcome new businesses, not where we would use the home-based businesses, because if you see the list of business license applications that we get, a lot of them are just, somebody's doing some editing from their home or something like that. But if somebody has a brick and mortar place, it would be nice to be able to do that more public welcome. We really don't.
I think that would also, as we've talked about, Facebook, that community connect, they're always talking about how we need to bring more business in. And I think it's just because people don't realize, like you said, there's probably a business opening up monthly, I would assume.
Oh, there are more than one, trust me.
Yeah. So I like the idea of, Mayor, that you put something where it's like brick and mortar business, or whatever, just to show that it is a true storefront of some sort opening, to welcome them and let people know that obviously there's an effort going to fill businesses. Because it's just over and over, that's what you see on Facebook and social media.
I think that's a good idea. I think that putting that even as an ad in like the Webster Kirkwood Times or something like that shows the vitality of Webster as we continue to have all of these great businesses open. I think that's a marketing effort through and through, and you just push it out on every channel you possibly can, whether it's social media or the website, depending on even, the city hall signage spaces, what the capability there is would be interesting.
What are our outlets for marketing these new businesses for people? Is it this letter that you're speaking of, Mayor, or is it letter that Explore Webster Groves? Is it us actually marketing something through City Hall into the Webster Community Connect? Like, what are our options? Like, how would I get these things to come past me? There's a lot of people have their face glued to their social media at the end of the day. Is that the way that we explore Webster?
There are multiple ways that we could do this. We could do this We put a monthly page in the community, in the Webster Kirkwood Times that we pay for. We had a column in there, and it was a consistent column every month that people could go and look at and see, these are the new businesses that have opened this month. We could put it on our website. We could do that running, whatever we call that banner thing, that we would put it on there. We could use the Explore Webster Groves Facebook page to advertise or to put something out too. We pay Creative Entourage to do that. We could do that. So we would hit 3 different communication avenues. The city puts out through the customer service area, they put out a list every month of new business licenses, and then people who have closed their businesses. We could use that. Certainly Mara's department knows, when somebody is opening, but there are various ways we could do that.
How do you guys as a business feel about getting an email notification about that? Because we do have the ability to email the businesses that have provided us email addresses. Would you as a business owner want to know who was with that? It'll be another email in your inbox. So that's always something that we need to think about.
Personally, those don't get read. I have so many emails, they don't really get the time and attention. I've given up social media back when I was addicted to social media. I'll say that probably would have been a way to catch my attention. And I'm sure there's pretty many Webster residents who still are on social media daily, spend hours on it. And I liked the post on Explore Webster Groves. It would tell me what award a business was getting. It would tell me, it never really told me about any new businesses, right? It maybe just reinforced things I already knew about other businesses, like this restaurant got an award, and this restaurant's opening up new, and look at, they were written up in St. Louis Magazine, and look at, they were written up in Sauce, and look at this. So it's telling you, it's already telling you about the top 20 in Webster that you already kind of are aware of. But it seems like you could do a whole Explore Webster Groves thing where you got used to every day also seeing a new business of the day, it could have its own little section or something on Explore Webster Groves. I don't know how many posts that company's doing for us a day, but it always seems, or if that's Mara doing those posts, but another Sauce Magazine, vote for Frisco or Olive and Oak for best burger, one of those. I see those a lot. I don't see anything about anything new that I don't know about. So that's a whole category to get into with those. I don't know. Do you guys see Explore? I mean, that was the only thing that I saw as marketing personally coming from the city. And there's a lot more you probably could do with that. If I was seeing it, I'm sure there's lots of other people who see it.
That was one of the things that was part of the social media piece that the little write-up that I did was that the charge has to be, how do we create new content? How do we encourage businesses to create content about themselves? Because really all it is right now, it seems to me, is share what's available content that already exists. And so that's, you got to take that jump to, and I think that's part of what Carol was doing with, your hidden gem. Can we now then reach out to some of those businesses and say, hey, we want you on Explore Webster Groves, but what do you want us to say? How do we say it? Can you do something?
Will you create the content for us? And does that become like just a step in the business license process? If you give us content, we'll upload it for you, or because otherwise hiring someone in the staff of the city or paying a media company to create content becomes another chore and another cost, right? When heck, you create your own content and we'll put it out there for you. Maybe that's a way.
I think that's a great idea. But I think that the businesses that have the capability and maybe the drive to continue doing that without, constant reminders and updates that might end up getting more annoying they're probably few and far between. mean, I think that's absolutely something that they could offer. But I think it might be more of kind of finding those sparks, and then having the city or the media company, Creative Entourage, take it from there is probably a better option. That's just going to be more reliable and sustainable.
Creates the
So in the Business Development Commission could be the lighter for those sparks. I mean, there are enough of you on that commission to probably think through some of the businesses that you see or don't, aren't quite as quote unquote popular as Olive and Oak. Maybe things that folks on the commission use or see. Or some of us, people could just provide some of those sparks. I don't know. I mean, we got them just from talking to some of you at the last meeting. We heard about a couple of businesses that people just don't normally think about.
Kara, did you look at, I know you sent out that social media post where you were asking about the hidden gems. Did you get a kind of a list of those together, or taken any of that?
I haven't done anything more than the post, but we
Okay.
ended up getting about 90 responses. I mean, people were
Wow, that's great.
pretty interested in it. It became kind of a hot topic on the Community Connect for a while. So, I mean, just right there, there's a good list of things that, Creative Entourage could start, or just outside of the, typical Olive and Oak best burger list that we've all seen a million times. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but just some new content.
So maybe that's something, Laura, that, when you're making this reimagining the social media, filling in a little bit more about Kara's experience and how this could be done. I don't know. I'd add Israeli Chemical to my list. Nobody knows about them, do you?
What was it?
Aren't they in Owen Ridge?
Israeli Chemical is here.
Aren't they they're in Owen Ridge, aren't they?
They're in Owen Ridge. They are a huge international corporation, and their food research department is here. It's absolutely incredible. I didn't even know they were here. I got invited to their opening or ribbon cutting or something, and so I show up. There are people from all over the world there with this company. It's huge. None of us really we just don't know that they're there. Those research labs bring in scientists from all over the world who are working there. It's incredible. So
How many businesses are in Owen Ridge?
Oh, I think there are, 45, I want to say, maybe a little bit more. And there's
Wow.
something like 450 employees here. So this is an important place for restaurants, for lunch breaks and stuff like that. A lot of people work here.
Wow.
a lot of professionals are there. I mean, Malincrot's research lab is there, and it's just, and Rebecca
Paderewski
is there.
Creative, a lot of little guys too,
Yeah,
but Paderewski Creative is here.
Weekends Only has their headquarters there.
Weekends Only. And then downstairs, we have Rebuilding Together, nonprofit. We have a roofer downstairs, just a small office. And, a real big variety.
Mhm. Yeah, most people don't realize that the headquarters of Weekends Only, which is a big retail operation, is here in this community. So. So where do we go from here? We got to make some recommendations. We have to do something with the BDC. All right, Laura, you're the one who always organizes us.
Well, I don't know that this is going to be helpful in organizing us, but I do want to point us back to the original reason that this working group came about, and that was about coordination and trying to be more proactive in getting people to participate in the business commissions, the trade association, the BDC activities. And we really haven't taken that one on very directly yet. And so I guess maybe I'll say, can we redirect our conversation a little bit? Are there particular things in that front that you all think we should ask the BDC to really get moving on? Or is that a BDC, have a big meeting, let's invite all the people who own businesses in the community and let's talk about that with them and see if they have ideas? I don't, clearly I'm not a business owner, so I can't help much other than kind of remind that that's why we started.
Yep.
And that shut down everything entirely. So good for me.
Crickets.
But I think we started out today with a little bit of that conversation, because it means how you pull people together and how you build that tent or that roof or whatever over all those pillars. And I think that's exactly what Laura's saying. And that's where we started out. What do we do? To me, part of it is organizational, structural. Is there a way to structurally get some together?
Well, I think it's going to be district by district. I think we need to, focus on, John could probably focus on his district. I could see if I can get some movement in my district. And if we have 2 pillars erected, then we've got 2 out of, 16 that we have to do. So instead of, my concern is that we end up with this confetti idea that it's just like we broadcast this and then we get a little here and a little there. And then it kind of like we need to build momentum within maybe the 3 main business districts and then start pulling from those to these other areas. I don't know. That's just my thought.
And with the ultimate goal, and so I'm asking a question here, and with the ultimate goal of, say I could get the biggest players here in Old Orchard to join the Old Orchard Business District Commission, would that be a good first step? Heck, I could put it in people. I don't know if I can put it in people's leases, but I can highly suggest it. I think there are several new businesses who'd like to have, be a part of making their businesses better by being able to influence. We put out bike racks, we put out flowers, we talk about the gazebo series. All these are all things that bring people to this district. And I'm thinking out loud here, kind of, so bear with me. But we're trying to get these other businesses to join us in the business district meeting, because we do these things that help bring more people to the district and therefore bring more people and awareness to your business, and therefore what you do for the rest of this district is semi-selfish. It helps you in your business. And if we get 10 of us, the 10 strongest, it helps the entire business district, right? Is that kind of the idea?
Well, that helps you build a really strong pillar. And Alan can build a really strong pillar. The issue here is, how do those pillars talk to each other? am I off base here, Laura? But it's really about pulling those pillars together.
A good characterization of what the BDC charged us to do. And we have done some other valuable things in conversation, but that one we still haven't hit. And maybe that is the answer to the BDC to start off with, which is, look, we can't coordinate until we know that we have very well-established players who are willing to coordinate. Because I think that's what you're saying, Alan, is cart before the horse is coordinating when you don't have people in place in each of the districts or within the community who are ready and willing to do that. then you're destined to fail, right? Or only a few
Right.
people will do the coordination, and then somebody's going to feel left out in the process.
Right. Yeah, I think we have to, you have to build the foundation first, and otherwise we're not doing that. So I'm just saying, from my standpoint, I don't feel like Crossroads is a collectively adhesive group. I'd say 90% of us don't know who works across the street.
Evans.
So, I mean, and I think my first thing is if I was to be asked to kind of start building this pillar, I need some help on understanding who's even in my district. Like, where do I even get that information? Can somebody share who's in Crossroads? Like, I don't even know, what types of businesses are in, other than, like John said, I know we've got Art of Entertaining. I mean, the typical ones, that everybody knows about, Lark, things like that, but I don't know who's across the street in what I call the glass block building. Other than I know it's got to be some kind of lab, because people leave lab samples.
So Alan, then would it be, so when you're thinking about building blocks and we're trying to think about what concrete things we can ask the BDC to do, one thing is to help each district understand, find a way to disseminate kind of a roster of the business district.
Right. Yeah, I would say when I decided to start Nearing Design, I was adamant I was going to be in Webster. And I wanted to be in an area that wasn't already functionally kind of known. Because I did look at Old Webster, I looked at Old Orchard, and I was like, you know what? I kind of like this area. It's a little quirky, felt a little run down a couple years, back when I started. And I'm like, I'm going to try to create more of something here. And that's when I started the window display. And so this neighborhood started by creating, it was all budget based, but it started like, oh, wow, I know exactly where you're at. And then was educating people. And then the next thing you know it, I had Christy from Architecture say, hey, I'm going to move down the street. We're going to have another architecture firm. And I'm like, okay, as long as it doesn't feel like Lowe's versus Home Depot, sure. That sort of thing. So Christy and I are good friends. So I'm like, great, you're going to fix your storefront, I'll fix my storefront. So I redid my storefront, she redid her storefront. And then the next thing you know, we've got Lark, and it's finally changing, but it's taken some time. But part of the problem is like I said, I don't even know who's in the area to kind of like help build from that.
Do you think, I hear what you're saying with Crossroads. We have Zeta-Del and we have Yorkshire. Would it help if somebody was identified in each of those areas who might be a possible leader, who would then try to at least identify their friends, maybe hold a small business forum, a coffee or something where you'd invite all the owners to come in and talk and visit with each other, and you'd begin to do that on your own. I mean, John could invite some of the Old Orchard people in for coffee and start to know each other in your own area. Would that be a useful first step?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, so our leader for Crossroads District that meets with Mara is Bob Springer. But as far as I know, when I was on that group, none of the information got any further than those who attended City Hall. I mean, once I left, unless I call one of them and say, what's going on? I mean, there's no information necessarily. And maybe I'd have to go find it, but there's no liaison, I guess is what I'm saying.
Is he still chair?
He is, as far as I'm aware.
I
And he
wonder
is.
that's the model, if it would be worth then, and I'm not in the business of assigning more work to BDC members, but it might be worth a BDC member being at that event to sort of explain what the BDC does, how people can be involved, and that way take some ideas back. I mean, we tend to get some of those, I think, in the BDC from especially Old Webster because of the consistent membership from that business district, but it doesn't, and again, I'm still relatively new, but it doesn't seem to me that there is a consistency of input from other places. Although John, now you're on the hot seat for Old Orchard since you've signed up.
And, you know, I've watched, it seemed stronger when I first got there, and then it seemed to fizzle out, and it seems like it's trending in a direction of, again, I mean, we're full again. I think we have one vacancy. The people that are on it are active. Fran, help me out here on my memory. Bob Weber is active in what he does.
Yeah.
Myself,
Holland.
Novel Neighbors, is very active. She
Good.
seems to maybe has put her time in some levels, are tried and been burnt.
Yeah.
You know, she's wanting to connect the districts forever.
Worn down would be a good word.
Yes, thank you. And, you know, the Union Studios, they're they asked me for a bigger space. They're doing very well, and they want another location or a bigger space here.
Wow.
Very friendly with Edo and Lauren from Balkan. We talk a lot. I could probably get them interested. Now, these are all people who are up and coming, who are, I want to say movers and shakers, but they're doing the things you have to do to have a successful young budding business. I believe the Union Studios, I talk to them regularly. Dharma and Dwell, we curated Dharma and Dwell and Union Studios for our spaces. We have 2 other spaces we're in the process of curating, other businesses. The people I think that we're going after are interested in growth and in being a part of an area that has special things going. So I feel pretty strong for Old Orchard that we will have people who want to make things happen in Old Orchard, and that Old Orchard in itself will have at least be a stronger pillar in that the business district will have people who are wanting to be active and do things. It'll never have the number of locations that Old Webster has, so it'll never have, you know, but I think it'll have 10 strong people on its business district here within a year, would be my guess. And then that leads then to those businesses probably wanting to, let's just throw an example out there. Let's say when the art fair is here, that all the districts somehow do something that contributes to the art fair or draws attendees to the art fair over into their district, right? Like my wife and I have joked about doing Saturdays where we all have a musician busking on the street, right? Like we started to build a little music thing here with what we had at Frisco before the pandemic, and the interest in musicians was really high. We're like, you know what, man? I told a musician once, I was like, I would put a musician in every business we have and have them playing in there just because we love music, and it gives it this kind of eclectic, unique vibe. Webster's known for being a city of arts. So I think there's opportunity once we get a really strong pillar. I think there's people who want to do neat things on a consistent basis, and there'll be a need for someone to connect all the pillars, going back, putting a roof over the pillars to tie us all together here eventually so that we're all on the same page. Sorry for taking so much time there.
No, I mean, so I have heard, I mean, I think Alan has just given us a really good case study on how this could work. I mean, by taking inventory of the businesses in that area, so we know what's there, and then uniting those businesses, maybe not just around this kind of amorphous join this business development group, but around a specific project. So we would have to come up with a project in each of those. I mean, I think obviously The window design is a really good one, but we could consider something that each district needs, whether it's, planters or bike racks or flowers or whatever. And so that they feel like they're doing something and they're collaborating on something specific and they're creating those relationships. From there, I would do a top-down approach too, within the city, and make it part of the communication strategy about Webster businesses, with Zeta Dell, and I think people know in general Old Orchard and Old Webster. I don't see a benefit necessarily in branding each of these business districts that might have one or two key businesses in them. But I think what you could do is do more wayfinding signage so that people know from here I can get to X this way or that way. I did a big project with the city and the CVC that was like citywide, Forest Park, downtown, Central West End. That was hugely comprehensive, but I think you can do that easily in Webster. And I know that there's some of that already. Maps, whether they're in businesses as pamphlets or handouts or virtual, on the Webster website, or if there's an app we could use. And then, like John just said, these multi-district kind of crawls, and events that span not just one district, but have, smaller facets in many of the participating businesses. So people are more trained to get from A to C or from B to D pretty easily. I think if you think of it more cohesively and comprehensively, that might be one of the best ways to approach this.
Wow. Kara, you just gave us 5 things to do, just like that. They rolled off of you and put together much of our discussion. You've got them too, Laura, because you're the better note taker.
You keep saying that. I don't know that it's true, but between you and me and Fran, we'll get it done.
We'll get it done. So, wow.
So if we frame this again, because our goal is to send some recommendations to the BDC, if we're summarizing sort of this second chunk of recommendations, as Kara just did really well, I would kind of characterize it as focusing on building those pillars first, right? There's a little bit of coordination on specific events across districts, but the first part of what you said, Kara, to me really focuses on that, how do we build the pillar part?
Yep. And I think, the first part of that is obviously just taking inventory of what exists.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's the inventory, finding the project, at the same time having some sort of top-down communication. I love the multi-district crawls. I think that's great.
And I think a lot of it will self-select once you have that inventory. You put out the blanket invite, who's gonna, participate and be interested in it and who's probably not going to participate, and that's fine.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, as weird as it sounds, it doesn't necessarily always have to be, this multi-district crawl, what I liked about when you said that, Kara, was we can almost play off the 5 senses and the fact that, we've got sight, sound, taste, smell, and touch, because we've got basically those all interface with art in some fashion, in my opinion. And depending on where you're at, which district you are, there's got to be something that resonates with those, So I was thinking, like, even in ours, I think we have, we obviously have art of entertaining, but touch, we had the acupuncture place. So, there's just different ways to like pull in so that it's a little more inclusive, I guess. I don't know, just throwing out weird ideas.
No, I like that.
You know, and I'm always looking at City of the Arts too, you know, John with the music, and even acupuncture is certainly an art, isn't it?
Hmm. Yeah.
You know, that sight, sound, taste, smell, and touch is really tie that into City of the Arts too. Wow. It's a
Yeah.
lot.
And I think you can almost then do a crawl of some sort. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
Cool stuff. Whoa. So are we shot now? That,
well, I guess my question is, how do I get the inventory for Crossroads? Who do I reach out to for that? Or where does that come from? Who's the collector?
maybe that's something the BDC talks about at their meeting. And how you get that. I would assume that would come through the city. What do you think? Fran, you've been dealing with business addresses and whatever forever. Where do you get all that?
On the, well, I get the business license report as the new open and close.
Mhm.
And I get an additional one that all has email addresses so I can upload that. So on the email addresses that we have, I've tagged them to all those business areas and I've come up with my own names. But it's not complete. If you really want to know every single one, you're going to have to go by the business and the address. If they're in a business district, on the business license report, that is a field you can pull. So you could go in and pull everything by district, everything by Crossroads. And I think that's in Mara's shop. She could pull it's an Excel file and she can sort it.
Joanne, do you know how to do
I
that?
do know. So yes, we collect that information. The customer support staff collect that information when they collect the information for the business licenses. However, we do not generally give that information to anyone because some of the businesses do not want their information to be shared in that format. A few years ago when I did that survey, that was referenced at one of our last meetings, that was the issue that came about. Was I asked business owners if they were willing to share their emails with other business owners, and the answer by a number of them was no, they don't want their emails shared, which surprised me because it is the age of communicating that way, as well as Facebook and other areas. So we may need to just reach out one more time and make sure it's okay. But we did not share that we would not say that we would share it that way. We just said for our own communications and through the business districts and through Fran's communication and Mara's communication, they've agreed to that part. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody doesn't want to share their information, then they obviously are, but that's unfortunate because, I mean, it's hard, especially, let's say 20% of our Crossroads decides they don't want to share their information, it starts creating roadblocks, so.
But that
Is there
does
an
not,
opportunity? Sorry, is there an opportunity to hand select even like the people that you know are interested and just start with that? I mean, when we have vacancies on our old orchard, we just talk to each other and we all go, all right, we got 3 openings. Who should we go for? Let's see. Does anybody want to reach out to Becky? Or hey, does anybody want to reach out to so-and-so? And we end up kind of thinking through who we want to grab. I think in time here, there'll be even more prospective people here in this district, like Alan in your district. I would think that you'd be maybe talking to Ann Lemke. All right, I don't know the gentleman who's got the 2 marketing businesses down at the end. He's obviously has some
Chris Westmeyer.
Yeah.
yes, obviously interested in making things nicer and better and doing things. And I think you're going to have the union loafers guys down at the end of your block here soon enough. And I'm sure that they're movers and shakers, descendants.
I would say everyone on the current Crossroads Commission would be interested in doing what Alan's talking about. Absolutely. So you've got a chiropractor, you've got a Pilates instructor, you've got an architect, you've got quite a variety, and they're all very invested in the district.
And so that's the beginning of a strong pillar, right? Like we get some of the people who want to be the most active from our individual districts, then we can create a strong pillar. And that might take 6 months. That might take a couple more vacancies getting filled, or I don't know. Is there anybody who's on their way out in Old Orchard, Fran?
I'd have to look at it.
I think this would be an excellent opportunity to put on the agenda for those business districts and share this information.
Mhm.
If
I agree with
somebody,
that.
you know, Mara could put it on the agenda with Fran and then have someone else who could, either Fran or someone else to speak about it. I think it's a great opportunity to move forward.
All right.
Just finally on this email topic, you know, we can't give out emails necessarily of people who don't want them to be distributed. But if Alan says, I'm going to host this event in the Crossroads district, we certainly can send that on our behalf as the city to those people. So I think there's a workaround there as well.
Okay.
And
That's good.
actually, you know, when we're going through the business license process, and the goal here, and I don't know if I've mentioned this previously, but the goal was to do business licenses through our software that we're working on upgrading very soon, so that individuals, business owners can then apply and they can give more information than what we have collected in other formats. So in the past, it was filling out a piece of paper and mailing it to us. This time it's going to be online, and that information will be more easily shared on the website. So some of the issues with finding information regarding businesses and sorting particular information about what the business does, all of that information should be much more easily accessed in a couple of months. But we could also in our application ask if the individuals would be willing to participate and coordinate their emails and allow us to distribute in that format.
Right.
I think if, you know, all these are great ideas. I think if it could be shared at a future meeting and, you know, make a list of things that need to be followed up on, that would be excellent.
That's my phone. One of the things that has happened that's apparent to me here now is that what we are talking about, what BDC is talking about, doesn't necessarily get back to the business districts. So
Right.
we have this conversation that's very rich, that talks about things we need to do, but it's not linked to Crossroads. So the Crossroads Business District Association has no clue about what we're talking about. You may have the same thing go on with all the other districts. And certainly, you know, the Zetadel district, we need to find somebody there because there are enough of businesses there. We need to find somebody there that can provide some coordination and collaboration. Because that's the missing link here.
Yeah, I agree. I just so you know, I did talk to Heidi, who's on the Crossroads, and I told her that I was, you know, asked to be a part of this group, and that I would try to be a conduit, you know, to kind of give her information, and hopefully she can give me information. Because I do think that, like you said, they're going to be the next portion of the pillar. If they're already on those district committees, they're the ones that are going to be more apt to help expand this. So.
But I think we're in dire need of some leadership at that Marshall Road, Zetadel area in Yorkshire. Those are two big areas that we probably should think about how we find somebody to connect to there.
Yeah.
The obvious one is Tammy. Wouldn't you
That
agree,
may
Rebecca?
pop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's certainly would be good. Do you want me to talk to her?
I don't think there's any harm in that.
Okay.
Maybe we invite her to one of our meetings or something. So we meet her and she, we get that group, that part of the puzzle together. And I don't know who's in Yorkshire now. That Robin used to be on the BDC, but
And she tried to make connections with lots of her peer colleagues in Yorkshire. I don't know how far she got. I think she got worn down.
I think there's some new people coming in though. to
There
your
is.
job.
There is.
Yeah, so that's gives us hope. There's some vacancies that have been there for a long, long time.
A couple of restaurants.
Yeah, which is what they needed.
Sounds like it's the first post to tell everybody who's coming.
Mhm.
There you go.
There you go.
I'm waiting.
Okay, shall we wind this up? What do you think, Fran and Laura? Can we make some notes out of this
Oh,
for you
sure.
to take back to BDC? And
I like your
Obviously.
facial expression.
we're obviously not at the end of this group meeting together, but so we should consider some meeting time when in May. I can't believe we're heading toward May.
How is that possible?
I don't know.
So I guess the question is, do you want it before or after the next BDC meeting?
And
What do you think, Laura and Fran? You two are on BDC.
The next meeting is like the 22nd is the next BDC meeting.
I feel like we need to get some more specific buy-in from the BDC before we continue to think about more things.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
okay. Then we should meet after the BDC meeting, which would be May the what? Wednesday, the first Wednesday of May is,
The 5th, Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo. It's gonna be
Oh,
a big day.
we're not going to celebrate at noon, are we?
I'm actually not available at noon that day. Believe it or not, I have something on the calendar, but could do the following week, the 12th.
Does that sound good to y'all?
I'll be out of
Wednesday?
town, but
Yeah.
you can pull me in.
Would it be possible to meet earlier than noon or later than noon?
I'm actually out of the country that week.
Oh,
Wow.
How about the 4th of May?
What is that, Tuesday?
Hmm.
Does that work?
I'm good either of those days.
So we're going to try May 4th. Does that work for you, Laura and Fran?
yes.
Okay,
Are we talking noon still?
I guess so.
Okay.
Okay. And Joanne will not be with us. She is leaving the city on Friday, so thank you.
Gonna miss you.
Miss you too.
We
I've
are
I've
gonna
enjoyed
miss
working with each
you.
of you.
Joanne, you did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
It was great working with you.
Same to you.
Yeah.
I will have Jennifer get the meeting started on the 4th of May, and I'll get it all scheduled, okay?
Thank you. All right. All right. Sounds good.
Hey,
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
all for all the good thinking and conversation. And Rebecca, your program last week was fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you. That was so much fun to put on. It was
You
really
did a
great.
great job.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So many, it really gets you present how much people did. And it's wow, when you see it all together, like all these people did all these things, it's really remarkable.
it is remarkable. And, even things like the person who did all his masks and her front
Oh.
porch ended up looking like
7,000 masks.
how
The
many?
mask- 7,000.
7,000.
The masked mamas. I didn't even know about this until they got nominated for an award. I just thought it was amazing.
Wow.
She also organized her neighborhood to adopt 10 families at Christmas through the ministries program.
Wow.
Wow.
Now, Laura, at the ministries, I should ask them, do all those baskets and food go to people in Webster Rock Hill, or do they go elsewhere?
So our service area is 63119 area code, or if you attend church here,
Okay,
or if you come, you don't get turned away. Regular clients have to meet those residency requirements or church membership requirements, but if someone comes, they still get a distribution of food, and if we can help them with other services, we do.
got it.
But it's more on a what's available kind of plan for those who just stop in and aren't residents of the 63119 area code, zip code. You knew I meant zip code, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Great. Anything else? Well, okay. Have a good
Thanks,
rest
everybody.
of
Bye,
the
everybody.
day.
Thank you.
Take care.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.